Good morning, Year 4s, and welcome to our maths lesson for today. So the learning objective today is to explore written methods of multiplication. And how we are going to reach that learning objective is through the following 4 steps. So the first step, I can recall my times tables up to 12. I can recall known facts, which is what we did in yesterday's lesson. I can choose a method to multiply bigger numbers, and I can reason and problem solve. So before we begin that, let's do the starter. So give yourselves 5 minutes to do 5 questions. Pause the video and have a go. Okay, well done. So let's go through the answers. So 3 times 30 is 90. And if we think about yesterday's lesson, we could have used 3 times 3, which is 9, to help us get the answer. Then 6 times 6 is 36, therefore 6 times 60 will be 360. 12 times 4 is your basic knowledge of your multiplication times tables, so that was 48. And the number 4 and 5 was column addition and subtraction. So just to show you and remind you how that looks, we need to line up our numbers in the correct columns, and then we start with the ones column. So 2 add 2 is 4, 0 plus 40 was 40, 500 plus 300 is 800, and 6,000 plus 2,000 is 8,000. And then with addition, or sorry, subtraction, we also start in the ones column. So 1 take away 1 is 0. 20 take away 30, we can't do. So we have to go to the hundreds column, and then that 300 becomes 200, and then the 100 joins that 20 to make 120 minus 30, which is 90. Then we move to the hundreds column, which is 200 minus 200, which is 0. And in the thousands column is 7,000, take away 6,000, which is 1,000. Okay, so today's big question is so I just want to put a screen up so you don't see the answer. Okay, there are 3 classes in year 4. There are 23 children in each class. How many children are there all together? So I'd like you to pause the video and think about how you would solve this problem to get the answer. Okay, so there are many different ways that we can get this answer, but today we're going to focus on times in those 2 numbers together. So 23 times 3. So if we had to look at a picture, if we had to represent that question visually, you can see over here we've drawn a tens and a ones column. We've got our deans. So this would be 23 children in one class, 23 children in another class, and 23 children in another class. So it's 1, 2, 3 classes of 23 children. So we are going to multiply that. We're going to say 23 times 3. So how are we going to do that today? I know there are lots of different ways we can do it, but today we're going to specifically focus on partitioning the numbers and then multiplying them. So 23 would be the number that we're going to partition into 20 and 3. And then we can multiply those 2 numbers separately by 3. So 20 times 3 is 60, and we can use the known fact lesson yesterday to help us. So 2 times 3 is 6, so 20 times 30 will be 60. And then 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, now we don't stop there because we still have to add those numbers back together. Because we partitioned and split them apart, we still have to add them back. So 60 and 9 would be 69. So we'd write the answer in there. Okay, so let's try another way of doing that. Okay, so this is just something I would like to say first. So do we always need to use a written method? Do we always need to work it out, writing it down? And the answer is no. Sometimes we can use mental methods, which means if we can work the calculation out in our head, we don't need to write it down. And this is because it's a lot quicker to get to the answer. However, you must always be sure, because sometimes we think that we know the answer, but we actually have rushed and we haven't worked it out properly in our head. So it is sometimes good to do the written method anyway, just to check and make sure that you're right. Okay, so if we look at another example, so this is the partitioning method. So we've got 35 multiplied by 6. So again, we partition the 2-digit number into the 10s and 1s. So we've got 30 and 5. Then we take that 30 and multiply it by 6. And we're multiplying it by 6 because we obviously have it's multiplying by 6 in the original question. So 30 times 6 is 180. And we can use the known fact 3 times 6 to help us, because 3 times 6 is 18. So 30 times 6 is 180. Then we take the 1, so 5, and we multiply that by 6. So 5 times 6 equals 30. And then, because we partitioned, we need to add those numbers back together to get our final answer. So you could set it out in column method, 180 add 30, which will be 150. And I really want you to think about, do you actually need to put that into a column method and work it out, adding the columns, or could you actually add that mentally? Because if you can do it mentally, that's the best way to do it. Okay, so now I'd like you to have a go by doing 2 sums by yourself. You are obviously welcome to partition. I would like you to partition the numbers by drawing arrows. I would like you to do this working out on the side, because all those steps will help you understand and make sure that you're doing it correctly. Okay, so pause the video and try these 2 by yourself. Okay, right, let's go through those. So first step you would have done was to partition the 16 into 10s and 1s. So you would have had 10 and 6. Then you would have done 10 times 7, which we automatically, if we knew our 10 times table, would know it was 70, but we can still write it out. 10 times 7 equals 70. And then 6 times 7, so now we're timesing the 1s, so 6 times 7 equals 42. And then we need to add those back together. So if you can't do that mentally, you can obviously add it up using column method. So you would start with the 1s, so 0 plus 2 is 2. And then 7 plus 4 is, or 70 plus 40 would be 110. So you would make sure that the 100 goes into the hundreds column and the 10 goes into the tens column. So your answer would be 112. Okay, then same with this one. The first step is we partition the numbers. So 20 and 7. So write those in. And then we multiply each separate number by 4. So we would do 20 times 4, which is 80, because 2 times 4 is 8. And 7 times 4 is 28. And then we need to add those back together. So if we did that mentally, we would know that 80 plus 20 is 100, and then adding the 8 is 108. Okay, so I hope that you understand that. I think that we have done similar things, especially we've done lots of partitioning before. So I want you to have a go. There are 3 different challenges. So the bronze challenge is multiplication sums, but just working with the numbers up to 20 and multiplying that by a 1-digit number. Silver challenge is multiplying sums similar to what we've done in the lesson, and then some word problems. And the gold challenge is multiplication sums and problem solving and reasoning. So I will go through those with you now. So this would be the bronze challenge, which would be most children that went to Miss Hand's group. I think anybody who stayed in the class shouldn't be doing the bronze challenge. And of course, if you went to Miss Hand's group, you are welcome to do the silver or gold. You are definitely welcome to challenge yourself. This is just a guideline of how you feel about the lesson. Okay, then the answers will be on the next slide. So that'll be your answers. And then the silver challenge is working out these multiplication sums using the partitioning method And then there are 4 word problems for you to work through. And then the answers will be on the next slide. And then the gold challenge is the same questions as silver with an extra reasoning question. And the answers will be on the next 2 slides. So what you're going to need to do now is go back in the video to where your challenge is, what you're going to choose, and pause the video there. And again, like I've said before, please do not look at the answers. They're there to help you after you've tried the lesson, because there's no point in looking at the answers, because you will not learn anything new. So have fun. Please send us your work. We are liking what we've seen so far. So thank you to all the children that have sent in work. But it would be lovely to see some more work as well. So have a lovely morning, Year 4s, and a lovely weekend, and we will see you on Monday.